So at this point in the preseason camp, I mean, have you seen everything you've wanted to see? I mean, does this team look the way you've hoped they would look at this point?
You know, I do. I was really excited about what happened with the defense. Obviously, they had a fantastic scrimmage yesterday. I've never seen a scrimmage so one-sided in 32 years of coaching. It was an unbelievable performance by them. And, you know, my hat's off to the defensive coordinators and the players. It was fantastic. And if that is the type of defense that we're going to play this year, then I'm excited. And we'll get the offense to do better. But it was really encouraging to see that type of performance.
What did you say to the offense after a performance like that?
I said, Mama said there's going to be days like this.
Two-part question on Alton Robinson. How thoroughly were you kind of involved in just looking into his background and getting to know what, you know, kind of his off-the-field issues? And as a second part, you know, how do you see him kind of fitting in? How long will it take him to acclimate?
Well, first of all, we did our homework on him. We're not going to just bring anybody into our community or into our family. We think we did our due diligence, and you guys can start your background checks, but we think it was thorough. On the second part, you know, we got to see. He hasn't played it down for us. We think he might be good. We got to see a whole bunch of practices and see what he is.
I mean, do you need him to play this year based on numbers?
I wouldn't say we don't need him or we do need him. We just got to see where he's at. I have no idea how he's going to be.
For sure.
With only 3 practices before you really get into Central Connecticut State, what are you trying to get out of these remaining last couple of days of camp?
Trying to stay healthy. First of all, we got to get our legs back. I mean, we really tax these guys, even though we're going 1 a day, which is for the old guys. They're only going 1 a day. Are you kidding me? But when we practice, it's like 2 or 3 practices at the speed that we operate at. It's a lot of plays and scrimmages, a lot more plays than the freshmen have ever played. And we've got to let our guys get our legs back. We've got a tough schedule, and the main thing that we want to do as coaches is when you're coming out of camp is that we're fresh for the first, second, third, fourth games.
What went into the decision to move Jordan Martin to safety?
Just a lot of guys back there in the defensive backfield. He's a big old guy. He's not like he's a little baby corner. I mean, he's a big cat. And just like we move guys around on offense, we want to put some flexibility back there in the secondary, just in case there's injuries down the road.
So do you figure him kind of staying at safety, or might he move back if an injury is needed? Or
he could move back if somebody gets hurt and he needs him to go back there. We're just trying to build the depth again because we don't have a lot of depth.
Sure.
You know, every year Eric Dungy says he's going to run less and his rushing attempts stay about the same. When he says he's going to run less this year, do you believe him?
I hope so. I believe it. You know, it's really big for him. He needs to stay healthy. He needs to be a part of what we do. We need all our guys to stay healthy. But it's no fun training quarterbacks after quarterbacks. And, you know, obviously we were 4-4. He goes down. We go 0-4 in the month of November, the month that everybody remembers. And we need to keep him around. Everybody in Syracuse wants to know what it would be like to see him make it through 12 to 15 games.
Last year after Virginia Tech, you said the offense needed him to run. How do you kind of balance that?
Well, I think it's not a balance. He needs to run when we want him to run, and then when we don't want him to run, he has to be choosy. He has to be selective. He has to always think about protecting himself. And it's not just Eric, it's any of our quarterbacks. You know, we don't recruit running quarterbacks. We recruit quarterbacks that can throw the football, that happen to have the ability to run if they get into trouble.
At the beginning of camp, you talked about you've seen the Louisvilles now, you've seen the Florida States, Miamis. Do you change anything as far as coaching the way that you coach concern coming into a camp, or you know, this is what I'm going to do and it's worked for me in the past?
No, I think you need to be able to adjust. I don't think you're rigid at all. If you're rigid, you're like that redwood that gets snapped in the middle of a doggone hurricane or something like that. You got to have some flexibility about yourself. And this league makes you have to do certain things if you're going to have a great chance to win a lot of football games. And I think we made those adjustments from the first year. Now we're going to have to see if it pays off on the field.
You know, Irvin Phillips has kind of said he's trying to work specifically on his explosiveness this year, kind of coming off the line. Have you seen that so far in camp?
I don't like to talk about individual guys. I think all of us have been working hard, and I think we're all trying to get better.
Maybe not for this year, but maybe a couple of years ago, if you can just say, obviously he had been moved around a lot, Irvin Phillips. He'd been a running back, a punt returner. He'd been a bunch of different positions. Just in terms of position-wise, when you saw him 2 years ago when you came here, what made you kind of put him at inside receiver? What went into that decision?
The biggest thing about Irvin, he said he wanted to play inside receiver. The very first spring, we let the guys line up wherever they wanted to line up at. And then after we looked at them, we decided if they should stay at those positions or not. So that was his choice to move there. based off of what's happened, I think he made a good choice.
Given the youth on the interior of the offensive line, especially you guys want to run the ball more, what do you need to see from some of the younger guys on the inside to be able to run the ball and be successful that way?
I think with the entire offensive line, we just got to keep that unit solidified and try to find a way to keep the same 5 starters in there. It's hard for them to operate moving guys in and out, and that's what we had last year with all the injuries. If we can get 5 guys and keep them around for a period of time, I think we have a better chance of being better.
When they're out there, what do they need to do though?
They need to play hard. They need to hustle and do the things that we ask them to do.
Were there ever any instances last year where you thought maybe they didn't have 100%? I was talking last week with Jamar, and he said sometimes it felt last year they were dragging a little bit. Did you ever see that? It's
very difficult for those guys when you're over 300 pounds and you go to tempo the very first time. It's tough on them. Think about a 350-pound person running a marathon with TV cameras and everybody watching. Okay, it's a disadvantage. But I think after they've been in a system a year, I think they get accustomed to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing them play faster their second year than they did in the first.
Coach, with Amba gone from a year ago, he had so much production. What have you noticed about the competitive energy amongst skill position players? Is there kind of a feeling that, hey, there's catches out there to get?
The biggest thing about Amba was here 6 months. No one knew about Amba, and then all of a sudden Amba showed up, and I thought that was a great example to all the other guys that came back this year. Is you never know who the guy is going to be, and it changes every single year. Your job is to come out here and get better every single day, be consistently good, not occasionally great. And if you're consistently good, we'll find ways to get you the ball. And I think that put a strong belief in everybody else that, hey, I can be the next Amba if I come out here and cross my T's and dot my I's. I think that was the biggest contribution that Amba gave us.
At this point in camp, how much more can this team learn? Or is it all just repetition of this?
No, we've got a lot more to learn. We're still putting icing on the cake here, and we're still not even done baking the cake. There's a lot of mistakes made in that last scrimmage. We came out here early to get that cleaned up. We're going to clean that up the rest of this week, and then we got to start fine-tuning for our opponents.
You talked about, last year, watching the offense sometimes is like watching paint dry. Do you feel like you sped up now in year 2 with this offense?
I think we can sit in the living room. I think the paint's pretty dry.
Time for 2 more questions.
After FanFest, you mentioned backup quarterback and starting cornerback as 2 positions you're really going to keep an eye on in that second scrimmage. Do you feel like Zach's kind of solidified that backup job, and do you have your 2 starting corners penciled in?
No, I thought the defense played extremely well, and I thought all those corners made a move to be the starting corner. That's how well they played. I thought the quarterbacks played not so good, and I think it really clouded the issue on where that lineup is going into the season. So we need to work on it a different way.
I mean, is it just, I know you like to talk about all the guys, but everyone's keeping their eye on Tommy, right? Because he's so talented coming in. Is there a real consideration you might burn his red shirt this year?
It's not about burning. We're talking about trying to win football games.
Sure.
Like, I can save him, I can redshirt him, I could be fired the next year, right? We're trying to put the best team on the field that we can for 2017. That's what I get paid to do. That's what I'm going to do.
So without Eric, do you think if he's on the field, if Eric can't go, is he the person that puts you in the best situation?
I don't know the answer to that yet. But if he is, he'll play. If not, it'll be someone else.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dino.
Thanks, Dino.
Thanks.